Coach, you're the American East champions. Everybody doubted the program over the last few weeks, especially the New York Times. But now, I've asked you the question before, do you feel validated at the program?
But only 2 have ever come back to win the series, so that is good news as the B-Sens tonight look to sweep the Charlotte Checkers at home, trying to send the fans home happy. Hopefully, they can do so tonight, Suzanne. That's going to do it for us live at Broome County Veterans Memorial Arena. I'm Erik Columbia, now back to you.
A little more than 24 hours from now, we will know the fate of John Bones Jones. But first, we have the weigh-in. Coach K will tell anyone who will listen that the B-Sens never get too high nor too low after a game.
Well, just like Kris Kringle himself, Southern Tier basketball fans around this time of year are checking their list to see the field of the Stop DWI Holiday Classic basketball tournament.
Moving to the pond where the B-Sens have confirmed that injured defenseman Patrick Weirkosh has been released from the hospital and is back home focusing on his recovery.
And the B-Sens have just scored one game 2. We are now 1-1 in this series. I'm trying to hear who scored the goal, but exciting news nonetheless.
UFC 145, the big fight. The Endicott native, John Bones Jones, taking on Sugar Rashad Evans. It should be a good one. Never before has a Division I Binghamton team played another D1 team ranked as high as the number 3 Michigan Wolverines. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? We'll find out in about 60 seconds as the 2-8 Bearcats travel to the Chrysler Center in Ann Arbor, and through the first media timeout, BU sticking with Michigan. Jimmy Gray here off the steal, throws it to Rainer Moketin. That is a 3-ball. Guess what? BU has a 2-point lead, but then the third-ranked Wolverines start flexing their muscles. Tim Hardaway Jr. from behind the arc. It is a 9-point game. BU is down. Then off the steal in transition, Hardaway Jr. over to Trey Burke. That is good for a 15-point margin now. Later in the first, we do have a Jordan Reed sighting. He would lead BU with 11 points. Here's 2 of them right here. He's the conference leader in points and rebounds. He gets a little bit of both on that play, and that top play nom. The Wolverines hit 10 threes and double BU's points in the paint on the night, beating BU 67-39. Well, as for the BU women, they dropped to 1-9 after last night's 6-point loss to Niagara. BU fell behind 13 points in that first half, but Jazz Swain, she led a surge in the second, scoring 15 of her career-high 26 points, but it was not enough as the Purple Eagles were able to hold off the Bearcats. It's the same story in what's becoming the team's calling card on the year, with not putting a full game together, and it's leaving this team wanting more.
We're definitely, we might struggle a little bit.
Whether or not BU puts together 2 halves Saturday doesn't mean they'll exactly have success as they take on a very tough 9-1 Syracuse team on the road. Well, just like Kris Kringle himself, Southern Tier basketball fans around this time of year are checking their list to see the field of the Stop DWI Holiday Classic basketball tournament. And upon checking it twice, fans will notice that for the second time in the past 3 years, no local team will be participating in the national bracket. Both Binghamton and Seton have decided to stick with the regional divisions because they feel their programs aren't at the level needed to compete on the big stage just yet.
You know, I think it's a pretty good fit for us to be in that regional division this year.
Tournament tips off 2 weeks from Thursday with the annual slam dunk and three-point competition. And speaking of Binghamton, tonight they're in action at home against Vestal. They're coming off a loss Friday to Maine Endwell, and I don't think they're too happy about that loss. Here from behind the arc in the second half, Seth West splashes down, and that is a 28-point lead in that second half. Later in the third, Jamie Curtis spots up from the baseline. That goes off the rim, but Salen Turkovic is there for the putback, 56-24 BHS. It was like that all night long for the Patriots here. Curtis finds his way to the rack. Curtis and Turkovic combined for 32 points as Binghamton wins big, 71-36, bouncing back after that Friday night loss. Let's stay with the same game, but take away a few Y chromosomes and head over to Vestal. Things a little bit more defensive in the first half. Jody Marie Ramil gets the stuff. Next possession, Vestal trying to get things going offensively in a one-point game. Jen Schelp spots up with the jumper and gives Vestal a 1-point lead of their own. The junior scored 14 on the night, but her team would falter in the second half, led by J.M. Ramil. Binghamton complete the Tuesday night sweep of Vestal, 65-38. One more stop on the Section 4 hardwood tonight. Maine Enwell and Elmira. First quarter, the Spartans cruising, so the Express need a quick stop. Abby Topping answers the call with the swat, but down the floor, Elmira just turns it back over to Emmy. Victoria Dean scoops it up and lays it home. Maine Enwell leads by a touchdown. Later in the opening frame, Julia Iacovoni, the forward, collects the offensive board, then puts it back home. Maine Enwell outscores Elmira 13-5 in that first quarter and paces themselves from there with a 49-28 win. That's it for sports. We'll be back right after this.
It was a beautiful day, 60 degrees, and the first miracle that I had was my fiance talked me into wearing my helmet.
This is not how your typical golf story starts out, but yet, this isn't your typical golf story. Meet David Hensberry, a 28-year-old freshman golfer at BCC who has many passions in life, two of them being golf and skiing. But it was one of them that almost cost him his life 7 years ago.
We all went up to the top of the mountain. We were stopped on a trail called Uncas, and everybody said, all right, we're going to go. 10 yards later, I was in the woods sliding on my back. The ski patrol said that I hit the first tree going about 40 miles an hour, and that initial impact is what broke my neck.
After the accident, David spent 9 days in a medically induced coma. After that, he underwent surgery to repair his 7 broken vertebrae, 6 ribs, his collarbone, scapula, and jaw. It's a time in his life he's reminded of every day, but it's one in particular thought, the thought of losing golf, that hit him the hardest.
I'm an emotional guy, and the thought of never being able to golf again, which is one of my greatest passions in life, was devastating.
But with the help of his family, David got through the rigorous rehab and slowly worked his way back onto the course. This summer, David heard that his former hockey coach, Pat Collins, was the head coach of golf at BCC, so David figured he'd give college golf a try.
He had no idea, that I was even still around, and I just called him out of the blue. I found out he was the golf coach. I called him out of the blue, and I said, you're never going to guess who it is.
I knew that he'd played in some of the local events, but I didn't know to what caliber of a golfer that David was.
This Sunday, the pair will travel out to the NJCAA National Tournament in Jamestown, bringing this comeback story full circle.
The emotions will probably be flowing. I'll probably be pretty nervous, to do this for myself, my coaches, my parents, everybody that I play golf with and that's supported me through this whole ordeal is incredible.
It's been called barbaric, grotesque, and even childish, but to many it's just called sports entertainment. Right now on Fox 40, we're going to take you behind the scenes to give you a first-hand look into the world of professional wrestling with Endicott's own 3DW. There are 2 things professional wrestlers will tell you. 1, wrestling is not easy, and 2, wrestling is definitely not fake.
There's been times I've been powerbombed on a trash can and it cut into my back and my shoulder.
I've had over 15 concussions.
Almost ruptured my spleen. I spent 24 hours in the hospital once. They thought they were going to have to take my spleen out, but luckily the swelling went down and I still got her.
To continue to wrestle after suffering injuries like these, it takes desire, determination, and dedication. The 3 pillars of 3DW wrestling and a cutthroat business like wrestling in general.
Here at 3DW, we want guys to come in and treat this as if they were trying out for the big time. We want them to know that you have to have a hunger, you have to have that desire, determination, dedication, because if you're going to be a pro wrestler and you ever want to go to the big time, you got to bust your butt.
I'm going to give you one more chance, all of you, to get in that ring and do this right, and if you don't do it like you did Sunday and Tuesday, it's off hard. You're not working Friday night.
For many wrestlers, this is not their full-time job. After working 9 to 5, 40-hour-a-week, Monday through Friday jobs, they spend their weekends driving hundreds of miles to a gig that pays little to no money. The time on the road and in the ring not only pays a toll on their body, but in their relationships as well. So it's essential to have a good support system at home.
Girlfriend is very supportive, and I think that's key. A lot of people don't have that the support behind them. You know, it's make this choice or this choice, and that's hard.
It's not easy, especially if you're married or if you have a serious relationship. You got to think about it before you jump into this business, because it will run you through some trials.
After the injuries, the time on the road, and the insufficient pay, 3DW wrestlers continue to come back every weekend for shows. It sounds crazy, and just maybe it is, but each one of them do it for the same reason: the fans.
About 5 years ago, I heard somebody go, I heard a crowd go, "Oh my God!" I was hooked ever since.
It's like great therapy, you know. I get to go out and be a complete jerk to people, and they love it. People love it, and they keep coming back to that. I mean, that's the coolest thing in the world.